Hey everyone, welcome to Doing Marketing Differently. Today I have Miranda Marquit. Would you like to introduce your business and what you do?
I actually do a lot of things, but my main business has been freelance writing. So I have been freelance writing for almost 20 years. Makes me feel old. And but also last year, I, along with two other friends, started what we call the Freelance Writer Academy, where we teach other folks how to be successful freelance writers. So that's been kind of fun because after you've been doing something the same for so long, it's kind of fun to do something else and kind of switch gears a little. So I still do some of the freelancing. I'm still a six-figure freelance writer, but I'm also very excited about the Freelance Writer Academy and helping other people learn how to do a good job with their own freelance businesses so that eventually maybe I can shift out of active writing. Because,
What kind of writing do you do?
Yeah, so most of the writing I do is writing on the internet, content for the internet. So writing about money, especially. So for places like Forbes, they always need content for their blogs. I have done educational video scripts. A lot of companies are moving into video, and so I've done educational video scripts to help people. To help companies produce videos. And then another thing that I do, which isn't exactly writing, but I also am paid to host podcasts. So I actually get to podcast about money as well.
That's awesome. So in the finance space, since you said you've been doing this for 20 years, what percentage of all the internet content do you think is written by you?
Oh no. No. Right now, probably not a lot. But if you looked at it like in 2009, 2010, when internet content was kind of new-ish, and as marketing and everything, and I was doing a lot of ghostwriting, as well as like writing under my own byline, I would probably say I wouldn't be surprised to find that like 50% of what was being published online about money was written by me. Like that would not surprise me.
Me neither.
Yeah, today it's a little different. I still do quite a lot,
but today other people are writing too. So
yeah, today, so there's so many people writing. There's so much work going on. Websites are posting like multiple posts a day. I mean, so yeah, it's much smaller, very small fraction of the financial content is being written by me anymore.
When you introduced yourself, you said you were a six-figure freelance writer. How does that break down into articles per month?
So I think it depends. Well, it depends on how much you're getting paid. For me now, it actually breaks down into usually between. Let's see, I do about two a day, 5 days a week. So for me, it usually breaks down into like 40 to 50 articles per month. Um, yeah, 10 a week. Yeah. So so between 10 and 15 a week. So it does break down. It's not usually 15 a week. So it breaks down to about 40 to 50 articles per month for me. For others, it probably means more. When I first started writing, I would write a lot more. I would sometimes write up to 5 articles a day. So hundreds of articles a month. so so it really kind of depends on how much you're getting paid, how much you've been able to raise your rates over time, and where you're at as far as your reputation is concerned. So for me, it breaks down to a lot less, and it's also broken down to a lot fewer hours worked.
And why is it fewer hours worked? Is it just a matter of reps?
Yeah, so I mean, it's like if I can charge more for an article and it only takes me an hour to write an article, the more I charge for the article, then the fewer hours I have to write to get it done. So like before, if it's like I'm writing 5 articles a day and it takes me an hour to do an article, then I'm working 5 hours. But now, if I only have to write 2 articles a day to make the same amount of money, now I'm only writing 2 hours a day instead of 5 hours a day. So that's kind of the way that breaks down, based on whether you can increase your rates and all that stuff.
So tell us a little more about the academy, the Freelance Writer Academy, because maybe there's people here that think, yeah, I love writing
Yeah,
5 posts a day. That's not me, by the way. I admire that, but I cannot
no,
visualize it.
100% glad I'm not doing that anymore. It's a completely different world now. And I usually only have to write 1 or 2 articles a day, thank goodness. But yeah, no, so I think the Freelance Writer Academy is designed for people at varying stages of their freelance career and freelance journey. So we have courses for beginning, intermediate, and advanced. And so our beginning course really is about like the very basics of how to start your business, where you get your first gig, how to make sure you're getting paid for your first gig, and just those basic things that will help you land your first client and start making money. And then we have our intermediate course where if you want to take it to the next level, it's for people who are getting ready to say, okay, it's been a nice side gig. I would like to transition from having it be a side gig to having it be like my full time. So that looks at like, okay, well, what do you need to do to take your freelancing to the next level? How do you go about transitioning from having it be a side gig to having it be a full time type gig? And having it be your main source of income? What do you need to know to make that happen? And then our advanced course is really more about business, really more about like, okay, so you've been writing full time, but is it time to make like an LLC or an S corp election? Is it time to hire other people? Is it time to outsource some of what you do? Is it time to redo your branding? So there's a lot of stuff in there in that advanced course that's really more about like the business of it and kind of, okay, so how do I ramp up? How do I make this work? And how do I scale up my earnings now that, because, when you're writing, you're going to hit a wall at some point, right? When you're writing, you're going to hit a wall. You're going to hit, walls with like, okay, for instance, one of my business partners in the Freelance Writer Academy, Ben, he has somebody do his fact checking links for him and make sure that that's all done ahead of time, because a lot of clients now require you to like provide, okay, this is where I got all of my information. And that's time consuming. It can take almost as long to put in your fact checking links as it does to actually write the article. Well, he's gotten to a point where if I'm fast enough at the article, having somebody else put in those fact checking links is worth outsourcing and paying extra money for. When I decided to do more with podcasting, I was like, okay, I'm going to hire a podcast editor. So, and you probably have editors as well. And so, yeah, so our advanced course is really about like, okay, how do you identify those things that you can outsource so that you can make your maximum amount of money doing what you do best, while other people take care of the stuff that is either mundane or time consuming or tedious and doesn't really account for your bread and butter.
Right. Or like just outside your zone of genius. There's things that the meme that hits home for me every time I see it is like, that thing I procrastinated on for 3 months that took me 11 minutes, a memoir. Like there's all kinds of things in business that I'm like, ugh. Like,
so the Freelance Writer Academy kind of takes you through all of those things. You can buy the courses individually or you can buy them as bundles together depending on where you're at. So really it kind of is about figuring out where you're at in your freelance writer journey and then saying, okay, well, which course is going to help me out? And we have, 3 or 4 times a year, we have different experts come and provide, additional webinars that you can take. And then we keep all of that in our resource section so you can see past things. We occasionally do like a Q&A where, we'll get on and you can ask us your questions. We do a coaching session. So you get a free coaching session when you sign up with the Freelance Writer Academy with one of the 3 of us. Kat is the most useful. She's the one that most people request because she's the most useful. And but we do a free coaching session. And then there's just all sorts of other things. We have extra resources, templates for setting up a statement of work agreement, templates for setting up, we also have like a time tracker thing that you can get to say like, okay, let's use this to track how much I'm making, figure out which clients are the best, paying. So we have a lot of resources like that as well. Plus an exclusive Facebook group where people can ask questions and where we occasionally post job leads. If somebody comes to us and says, hey, we want to hire you to do this thing, sometimes the pay might be more entry level, or sometimes like we just don't have the bandwidth, and we will put it in the Facebook group and say, hey, who wants to apply for this gig? who wants us to recommend you for this gig? So it's kind of a really good place to meet other people, get your questions answered, plus just kind of get those step-by-step things. We like to say, um, between the three of us, we've made pretty much every mistake you can make.
So it's a
with
shortcut for
writing.
people.
So it's like, so if it's in the, like, there were a couple of people who are like, I would never have thought of this. And I was just like, no, but we messed it up good. So that's why it's in the course, so that you don't have to mess it up good.
That's awesome. That's like the big benefit of digital courses is like take
Yeah.
this decade of advice all condensed down. I have two questions for you. One's at the beginner end. What's the least amount of money a beginner should take for a internet post?
So right now, these days, I would say, 10 to 15 cents a word is your like rock bottom.
Okay.
So that works out. It's hard, it's hard to say because like you have article lengths that are varying. You have different requirements. Like for instance, I say if you want me to interview somebody, that's gonna cost you more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like it just is. If
Right, because there's
you're
back and forth and
yeah, if you're a client that requires interviews, then it's going to cost you more. But for a beginner, 10 to 15 cents a word is like your rock bottom. If you're pretty good at it and you have some credentials already, like I know people who come into this saying like, oh, well, I've been a nurse practitioner. I want to write for, medical stuff and health stuff, and they've already got that credential. Well, then you can say like, okay, well, my rock bottom is going to be 15 to 20 cents per word or 20 to 25 cents per word. So it really kind of depends on where you're at. But I really hate those places where you bid on work.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of places that are offering, between 2 and 5 cents per word or even less. And, I think you're better served going elsewhere and working on your own skill and finding those other gigs rather than going to freelance marketplaces where you're constantly undercutting yourself and constantly in bidding wars with people, with people who are willing to take, 1 cent per word. And that's just a horrible waste of time.
Yeah, back in my inbound marketing days, we used to outsource to a good thing, I can't remember the name, but it was a place that paid by the word. And I said in my content briefs, because I was so sick of cutting out the garbage words that were that they were getting, like another penny for or whatever. I said, just write as much as you can. And if you don't get to 500 words, just end with word, so then I can just pull it out and have something good that was, 450 words or whatever. And we're all happy. My second question for you is the other end. After all of this experience, and not just for you, but someone who's coming out, who's planning on going deep and narrow, where they want to specialize in one topic and do it well. How do you keep each article that you're writing fresh and new and different than something you've already written before? How does somebody do that?
I hate it so much. No. Yeah, well, really, the beautiful thing about the English language is that you can almost always find a new word or freshen it up or come at it from a new angle. So there's always a new angle to look at, and things are always changing. It is boring sometimes to be like, oh, look, it's March, it's February and March, it's time to write another tax credit article. But there are always new kind of analogies you can draw from like what's happening today or internet memes that are going on or something like that. So you can always kind of freshen it up with a fresh new analogy. For a while, I was just like, well, a tax credit is dollar for dollar reduction in what you owe in your taxes. And a tax deduction reduces your income. Well, then the next year around, I'm like, okay, let's freshen it up. A tax credit is like getting a gift card for to go toward your taxes. So, you get a gift card, you put it on there. Your tax deduction is like a discount that you get. So you can kind of change it up a little, and everything else, and kind of change your approach to it. But it does get a little bit hard, and sometimes, to be honest, like if you are I like to call it a jobbing writer, and a writer who does this for a job, and you just have a bunch of these kinds of articles to write for people, it does tend to sort of get tedious sometimes. And as a writer who wants to make money, you kind of have to accept that a little bit. Sometimes it's not the dream sometimes. You're like, I thought I was going to write something really cool, and now I'm writing about auto insurance again. But that's okay, because the nice thing about getting that kind of narrow and deep knowledge is that it becomes easier for you. It becomes easier for you to come up with new ways to write about it, and you get it done faster. So you can just get it out of the way and then move on to something that's more interesting to you.
Mm-hmm. I love that. So where can people find out more about you, Miranda?
So you can go to mirandamarquit.com. So just mirandamarquit.com. Speaking of freshening and branding, I'm working on that right now. So we'll see. We'll see if your watchers get the new site or the old site.
And are there links to the Freelance Academy as well on that site? Okay.
Yes, and then you can also go to freelancewriteracademy.com. You won't find out a ton about me at freelancewriteracademy.com, but mirandamarquit.com has more information, not only about freelancing and how I do freelancing, but also about my money philosophy and how I use investing and money to design the life I want. So those are two places you can go to find me. And then I'm on the Twitters at mmarquit. So.
We'll link to your stuff below here. If people are watching this on YouTube, you'll see it on YouTube. If they're watching it on the blog, it's linked below. And yeah, thank you so much. I think this was really helpful.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. And I hope it did help somebody.